Hi everyone, my name is Razvan Nutiu. We are in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist that works for the pharma industry right now. I worked in the past for academia as well. Yeah, so I'm mostly focused on gene regulation, how DNA gets translated into proteins, it's what's in between, and how that affects human biology, human disease. We have several projects that go. I work on several projects. Can't really tell you much more than that. A scientist's job or a technologist's job is to develop technology. That's what they do best, right? The question is what technology to develop and how can you make a technology, how can you go from an incremental step forward to a major step forward? And that's where it takes orthogonal thinking. That's where it takes a different mindset sometimes. That's what it takes sometimes to step back and have a second look at your approach. Sometimes you tend to be as a scientist, you tend to be very focused on the technical details. Do they even matter at the end of the day, right? You might figure out that you spent a week fixing something you didn't even need fixing. Right? So the more, I would say, artist mind would help. And there are quite some scientists that are very creative and they have more of a, some even say they have a more arts approach to science than others. There is not right or wrong, it's just the way people are. You cannot have one without the other, that's the bottom line. For an artist that's interested in biology, it's kind of easy because they get the expertise from the biologists. The other question is a little bit, how can a scientist benefit from working with an artist? And I mean, of course, the obvious thing is creativity, right? Thinking out of the box, get you out of the bench. Scientists tend to be very pragmatic. Artists tend not to be very pragmatic or tend to be the opposite. And that might help the scientists think in a different way. It'd be very interesting to see their perspective on our work, right? And our approach and our thinking. And sometimes you try to explain science to an artist, and the questions that come, you are prepared for very pragmatic questions. As a scientist, you're prepared to answer questions coming from scientists, right? And try to defend your science and try to explain why is it great and what's the potential and why are you doing what you're doing. And then you talk to an artist and the question, most of the time the question doesn't come from the direction. It's like, whoa, I'm not ready for that. Like, why are you even asking this, you know? I can't think of a concrete example, but yeah, it happened. And you're trying to explain the science behind it, and the question is more or less, why are you doing it? Or have you thought about this in another way? And the first reaction is like, why would I think about it in another way? Because that's the way to think about it. That's how I'm trained to think about it. And then you start thinking about it from another way. It's like, interesting. Again, going back, it's not so usual to have artists around scientists, right? Definitely not in the lab. It's just the way of thinking is so different. But that's the question at the end of the day. Is that an excuse not to have them together at the bench or in the artist atelier or whatever, in their workplace? Or that's actually the real reason why you should have them together?